Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Plague Inc. Evolved official scenarios. Last time we did the created equals scenario, which was a little bit of a close shave, but we made it work nonetheless. A little close for comfort, but it's okay. Now we're moving on to global warming. Huge releases of greenhouse gases significantly accelerate global warming and raise the global surface temperature by over 6 degrees Celsius, as well as triggering other climate change events and flooding of low-lying countries. Out of the frying pan and presumably into the, conflagration that is the Earth's atmosphere from global warming. Whatever. Point is, the climate is going to be very different in this particular scenario, and that's really the only real trick to it. So many more countries than before are going to be arid. And I think that also there are a lot more humid countries, which is kind of implied down here. I don't think there are any new cold countries, at least that I can think of. Most of the countries that are in the extremes, far north and stuff, are already considered cold, but this is going to change our strategy up a fair bit as far as resistances and other things we go for. It, of course, changes up what kind of transmission vectors you want to go for. It's pretty interesting, but it can slow things down a fair bit. Basically, you have to relearn the map a little bit and what's going to be effective. Now, I got 3 stars on Brutal, so I have a fairly good strategy that worked out pretty well in my tests. Now we're going to give it a shot on Mega Brutal. And I decided to switch things up a little bit by going for the Nanovirus. Why the Nanovirus? Partly because it sounded kind of cool, but also because I kind of know that they're going to start working on that cure early. It is Mega Brutal after all, so I say screw it, let's just, race the cure anyway. We're going to have to get a 3 stars, we have to go fast, might as well just double down on it and go for the Nanovirus, right? I don't know. It's going to work out pretty well for us, so I think, at least it did on Brutal mode. So I have a strategy that I think works. Now we're going to go for the ATP boost, as usual for Mega Brutal. Base oxidation is pretty decent here, because it allows us to mutate some transmissions. I think you could go for the genetic mimic. After all, with the nanovirus, they're going to start working on the cure very rapidly. It would buy you some time. But again, I'm really doubling down on this idea that I'm going to be moving faster than even the cure for the nanovirus can go. So the genetic mimic is not what's going to be what saves me. If anything can help, it's either going to be Darwinist or base oxidation for the extra transmissions. At least that's the hope. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I really do think that Genetic Mimic or Darwinist are completely viable options for you if you so desire. We are going to go for Suppression, just kind of making it more likely for us to close a land border. Extremophile is going to be pretty useful. I think you could also make a good argument for Zerophile for the arid climate, simply because there are so many more of them. But I still like, even though most of the world is going to be arid, you still need to be able to get into those cold locations, so Extremophile still seems pretty decent. And we're going to go for the Symptostasis. I think this one's going to be crucial for us, because I'm going to rely on a lot of early game transmissions to kind of get us going. Let's go to Mega Brutal difficulty, switch up a name. Prarash, Weariosis, Mortal Murderer, Sufferer, Sore, Clinical Contagious, Throbbing Panic sounds perfect, we're gonna go for that. Alright, welcome to the global warming scenario. Started location, okay, no special text there. So we're gonna start off in China today. And in the past, I've been hesitant to go to China because it usually is only an urban nation. It's not hot, it's not cold, just urban. Right, and oftentimes I like to start in a hotter nation with the knowledge that I'm going to have to go into cold resistance. I'll be weak in the cold in the beginning, but I'll be strong around the equator where there's a lot of population. China, however, in the climate change scenario, you'll notice here, is considered hot and arid. If we go to India, this is also considered to be hot and humid. Where's another place? Let's see. The Balkan states, for some reason, are considered to be very cold. Italy is considered to be a hot and arid nation. Spain is a hot and arid nation. France is a hot and arid nation. The United States is hot and arid. Do you see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. Change the scenario pretty drastically thanks to global warming. So we can afford to start in China and in a hot country, and that's still okay, and we still have a 1.4 billion population to work with quick access into Russia that can hopefully get us into Greenland. So we're going to go ahead and start there. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, thanks to the ATP boost, is go to the symptoms and grab a whole bunch of them. So namely, I'm going to go ahead and just start with, let's say, some insomnia and some nausea and some coughing and a rash and cysts and stuff like that. Let's go for the abscesses. That's also fairly effective. Of course, we're boosting up our severity rather drastically here. By the way, paranoia for whatever reason is free, so we might as well just grab that. Sure, why not? It seems fine. And let's move on from there. throbbing panic begins in China. Alright, now that I have a fair number of symptoms contributing to some early game infectivity, what I can do now is immediately start saving up for some heat resistance, knowing that I'm going to need to be able to spread as fast through China as possible. Greenland has already started working on a cure. They're already up to 15%. This is a scary thing about this scenario, right? It requires a lot of speed. It's it's really scary playing as a nanovirus. It's honestly one of my least favorite types to play as because it's so darn upsetting how fast they can move, but we're going to immediately start saving up some points to go ahead and grab a level of radical elements, which will reset some of the cure progress and stuff like that, kind of slow it down. That's going to cost us 5 points. Let's just go ahead and grab it right now. I guess we might as well. And now I'm going to start saving up for some transmission. We're going to be riding the line very close with the cure. Right, I expect it to get very high, several points in this scenario. Well, at least 2 points. Let's go ahead and grab some water transmission. Actually, you know, I think you could argue instead of going for water, it's better to go for air. I still like air, especially in the climate change scenario because so many places are arid. The reason I'm going to go for water here is because I'd like to be able to get quick access into India and unlock a second massive billion population in order to start getting some DNA. Because again, the scenario is going to be all about speed. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also save up some points for insect because this is also effective in the hot climates as opposed to the arid climates with Air 1. And most of the places that are arid are definitely hot as well, so we can afford excuse me, to go for insects instead and increase our chance of mutation. Mutation is not our enemy in this particular scenario. In fact, because we have base oxidation, more mutation chance can result in new transmissions as well, so that's not so bad. I'm going to go ahead and save up for Air 1 next, again, to kind of spread us a little bit faster in the arid areas. Hopefully we get on a plane. They're up to 65% on that cure progress, which is terrifying, but what can you do, right? I don't know. Again, it worked pretty well in Brutal mode. Will it work well in Mega Brutal? I'm not too sure yet. Okay, let's go ahead and grab the Arid, grab these DNA points. Now I'm going to save up for some more resistances, namely some cold resistance. I'm a little concerned that maybe we need to save up for another Radical Elements, or rather, Encryption Breached. There we go, but let's go for a level of cold resistance first. We are getting into Russia. Okay, that's pretty good. Starting to get around here. There we go. They're slowing down a little bit. I am going to grab Encryption Breach a little bit early. I was planning on going for some other stuff first, but I think we kind of need it. I don't want to increase my abilities costs too much, but I don't think we really have a choice. Let's go for another level of cold resistance, and now we're going to go for our last level of heat resistance. Now, I think there is a... Oh, we got blood early. That's pretty nice for the poor areas. There is a good argument to be made that the bacteria is a good disease type for this because of the extra environmental hardening that they will have access to, but I don't think we're going to need that right now. Nanovirus seems to work okay. Excuse me, got something in my throat. By the way, notice that we're going for the heat and the cold resistance before we go to drug resistance. These are universally going to be far more useful to me in the early game than the drug resistance right now. So that's kind of why I'm going for that, thanks to the climate change scenario. It's not always going to be that way, but today it certainly is. Now, we have very cheap symptoms, fortunately, so let's go ahead and grab something like vomiting, for example. We'll also grab sweating. Maybe I'll grab sneezing, pneumonia, hypersensitivity would be a pretty good way of getting into wealthier areas. Let's go ahead and grab the sneezing. Now, they're at 75%. They're a little bit slower than they were before. I could go for... I think I'm going to go for the skin lesions at 7 DNA points, with the hope that that much infectivity really starts to pay off some dividends for me now. There we go, starting to generate some serious DNA. Let's go for a level of drug resistance now. There we go. Notice, by the way, we're sitting at about 85%. Cure progress, I'm not too worried about it. I still have access to the broadcast interceptor overload, which I can do at the very last minute before we win the scenario. Set the cure progress back a lot, and there's going to be no particular downside to it. But anyway, all right, we probably need some more transmission. I'm thinking, well, the alternative is to go for a little bit of lethality so we can get around faster, but I'm going to go for some more water transmission. And I could either go for Insect 2 or possibly Air 2, but I kind of like the idea of going for Insects for more mutation chance, so we're going to do that. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, we're at 89% with that cure progress. A little scary, but I think we're going to be okay. We already got blood. Do we want to go for more mutation chance this way, or do we want to go for the Air 2? Or we could go for necrosis with the lethality, hoping to get some more DNA. What are we looking as far as islands? Hang on. World? Still missing a lot, actually. The Caribbean, Greenland, Iceland, and New Zealand. So going for that lethality might be ill-advised right about now. We're going to go for some more transmission instead. Let's go for Air 2. There we go. We did get into Madagascar, apparently. I wasn't aware that we were missing that as well, but there we go. We are getting a fairly good amount of DNA. I mean, this is not too bad. Extreme bioaerosols will certainly help. Diarrhea symptom mutated. They are up to 92% cure progress. I gotta watch that. First death here in Turkey. Okay, we're in the Caribbean. We are missing Greenland and a few other places here and there, but don't forget, we also have suppression, which will allow us to spread over land borders a lot more easily. The real trick now is going to be getting into Greenland. But anyway, the other things we can do if we want to slow down the progress of the cure is also grab something like inflammation and paralysis. That'll slow things down a fair bit. I'm going to go ahead and grab hypersensitivity for 1 DNA. That's not too bad. Could go for dysentery, could go for necrosis. Both are valid options, I think. But for now, do we want to go for environmental hardening? Depends. How are we looking as far as... Oh, we just got into Greenland. Okay, that's all I needed to see. So I'm not sure that we need the environmental hardening at this point. So I think we actually can go for necrosis. There we go, got into that. So we're missing Morocco, West Africa, and Algeria, but we have a lot of things that will be helping in those arid and hot regions. I think we could probably go for coma to try and slow down the cure. I'm going to go for a level of genetic hardening just to unlock the genetic reshuffle, because I imagine I will want that at some point. Down to 86% with the cure. That's not too bad. We are still missing Morocco and Algeria, these two right here. Could go for the birds, and that would certainly help. Could also go for that environmental hardening anyway at 59 points. That would make me very effective in these hot countries. They haven't closed down their land borders yet, though, so I don't think that's going to be an incredibly high priority for me, at least right now. We're going to go for seizures and insanity instead to slow down the cure a little bit more. Kind of worried we're not going to get into Morocco. I think there's a good chance that we will, though. Let's go for the total organ failure and start killing. I think I actually do need to go for that environmental resistance because I'm looking at Canada and seeing that this is a problem. We did get pneumonia, so that's at least something. Okay. Well, or alternatively, there's drug resistance level 2. But the environmental hardening will ensure that we can get into... Oh, wait, no, we are in Morocco. Oh, we're in every country in the world. How are we looking as far... Wait, we have necrosis. We don't need to worry about that. We're fine. Never mind. Okay, let's go ahead and grab more lethality in the form of dysentery and immune suppression for the extra mutation chance. Doing okay in Canada. Doing all right in Canada. Cure has slowed down to about 88% now, so it's not growing too fast. Still spreading very well. Systematic infection is an excellent mutation for us. There are no healthy people left in the world. Great. So now I can save up my DNA at this point with the intention of resetting the cure a lot. So I'm going to wait till we get to about 50 million people, like so. We're going to go ahead and do a broadcast interceptor overload. We are immune to the cure for several weeks. Actually, could have done this sooner. Would have been fine. But this is going to greatly reduce the cure. Then do some genetic reshuffles. 3 levels, and that's it. Do we care about... I guess more lethality will help us just end this scenario faster. Let's go for the hemorrhagic shock, pulmonary edema, anemic, and hemophilia, and that will have to be enough. Cure interceptor overload, reset the cure down to 50%. Okay, is that enough to get us to 3 stars, please? Throbbing panic to destroy humanity. I'm aware. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And 2 star. God! Alright, I thought that was a very good shot. Oh well, okay, so the problem here was just time. We still weren't fast enough. The only thing I could have done differently, I think, is go for lethality a little bit earlier in the form of necrosis. The only reason I hesitated was because I wanted to make sure we got into some of the other countries. But I guess the moment I saw a boat going off to Greenland, I could have just gone for it, just really started cranking out the lethality, and that would have been it. And that's a perfectly viable solution. So yeah, the strategy for the nanovirus seems to work fairly well overall. I would actually say that in some ways the climate change scenario can make it easier to spread than you might think. Simply because, with more countries being hot, arid, and humid, your insects, your air transmission, and so on are going to get you in places that normally they were not as effective before. So that's actually going to be an advantage for you in some ways, as long as you have a pretty good strategy. And with the nanovirus, we just decided to go as fast as we could. And 50% cure progress is not half bad, considering. Not good enough, it turns out, because we weren't fast enough, but that's all a matter of the timing of the lethality. My bad. Probably could still use the strategy, tweak the timing a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, and I think you have a pretty good chance of getting 3 stars. But that's where we're going to end this video today, so thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. If so, then be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I, as always, will see you guys next time.